to Let's Talk Terror with Friends. I'm your host Celia, and today we're diving into small town secrets, shadowy conspiracies, and one of the most exciting indie horror reads of this year, Cedar Mills by Dylan James. Now, this book is a terrifying page turner that mixes everything from Stephen King to Alien and the X-Files just rolled into one. So grab your flashlight and keep your eyes on the tree line because something ancient is waiting out there. Hello, Dylan. Thank you so much for coming on to talk with me. It feels like forever since I read your book. August 1st is when I put the review out, and it's been such a long time.
Yes, the time is going by really quick.
It really is. But before we get into Cedar Mills, can you introduce yourself? Just like a sentence or two, tell us who you are.
Yeah, I'm Dylan James, author of horror fiction, nonfiction, and yeah, just writings in the blood, as some authors would say.
I like that. So, of course, we are here to talk about Cedar Mills. Now, for those who haven't heard of the book, who haven't read the book, give us your elevator speech. What is Cedar Mills?
I would say, in a nutshell, Cedar Mills follows a disgraced homicide detective teaming up with a group of grieving high schoolers, and ultimately they unveil like some dark secrets, some shady happenings in their town. And at its core, I always like to say it's a creature feature, and that kind of catches people off guard, but it is a creature feature the more you delve into it for sure.
Yeah, it definitely is. And we're going to get a little bit into that more, but just the base of the story, it's, was what inspired you to create Cedar Mills? Do you live in a place that made you say, "Hey, I can write about this"? Was there some kind of like local legend? Do you guys have any cryptids where you are? Where did this idea come from?
That's really interesting. The cryptid. It is inspired by a cryptid called the Charles Mill Lake Monster in Ohio. It was like these in the 1950s. These two guys reported seeing a cryptid at a reservoir, and if you Google that cryptid, it is the exact same description as the Cedar Mill River Walker for sure. And originally, the novel was supposed to be a bit more paranormal. Like I absolutely love all things paranormal. Like Ghost Adventures is probably like my favorite show of all time, and it was originally flirting with that with like the newspaper team. They were originally going to go find like something paranormal, but then it kind of just shifted during the writing process. It felt really organic, and that's what I would say the inspiration mainly comes from for sure.
Okay, I've never heard of that cryptid, so I'm gonna go look it up right after this interview. I'm gonna learn all about it. I love cryptids.
There's a lot in Ohio and in Missouri as well, for sure.
Yeah, I'm a newbie to Missouri. So I guess I'll have to look up that too, but Ohio first.
Great.
Now, you've described Cedar Mills as having the heart of a Stephen King novel and the action on par with Alien. Now, for me, those are two very different things.
Yeah.
So, can you talk about how you balance those two vibes to make your book?
Yeah. I think for me, it was this really organic process of writing the book that I wanted to read. And like you, like I love Stephen King. I love the Alien series. I was like, it'd be really, really interesting to combine these things. And there's also like, as you touched on, like a found footage element as well. And just like knowing your reviews, like I knew that you would love that. Like you definitely love
You're
your,
right.
yeah, definitely just, it was just an organic thing of just, I just want to read the book that I've always wanted. I want to write the book I always wanted to read for sure.
I really appreciate you and the many other indie authors and filmmakers that I've talked to. Just go out and make the stuff that you want to see because I know some people can get tired of having the same things all the time, but Cedar Mills was very refreshing. And also, I believe I mentioned having a sort of Stranger Things and X-Files element to it as well. And
Yeah,
all of those things combined,
yeah,
it worked out really good.
I really appreciate it. And like likewise, like I know like the horror community really appreciates you and all you do, and really just giving a spotlight to independent artists for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I appreciate you guys right back. You give me so many things to like think about and
Yeah,
new things to see and new things to read, and I love it all. I'm so happy to have met not only you and like all the indie people. I absolutely love it. But back to Cedar Mills. So it is both fast paced, but it's also very easy to read. It's like we don't skip a beat. I understood exactly where you were going with everything. And you layered it with mystery and dread as well. How does that kind of writing just come easy to you, or did you have to like work on it? What is your writing process like?
yeah. That's something that I definitely had to work on, like through my college years, and really just finding a recipe that worked. But for me, it was kind of this really special thing of reconnecting with my childhood and R.L. Stein. Like I love R.L. Stein still,
Yes.
all of the Goosebumps stuff. And he has a very, I don't want to say simple, simple's not the word, but very efficient like verbiage and phrasing. And but he also packs a punch within that. And you just get lost in his worlds. And that was kind of what maybe subconsciously more so that I go for is simplicity. Like I want to treat my audience and make sure that it's an enjoyable, uh, efficient read, but also really delve into more adult topics and
Yes.
subjects. And really, I always say it's kind of like you're weaving a psychic web of sorts, just like world building and character building. And yeah, I would say just definitely just aiming for that simplicity and but also packing the punch too, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I use the word efficient quite a bit, so I'm a fan of efficiency for
Me too.
sure. But you mentioned R.L. Stein, and I would agree, but I wouldn't necessarily, for me at least, say Cedar Mills is like Goosebumps. I would say it's more like The Haunting Hour, which is still R.L. Stein, is just a little bit older. It's not for kids, but it's also not for adults.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't quite know where to place it because it's like this could be, I'm looking at the book. I have it right here. Yay. But it's I don't know, it just hits that sweet spot of like this could be, enjoyable for anybody at any age.
For sure. And at any age, and there's like so many characters with different backgrounds too, which is really cool. And yeah, I think there's something for everybody in it.
Do you have a favorite character?
I would have to say probably Tom, uh,
Yeah.
Homicide Detective. That's probably the character that I most identify with. And he kind of ends up becoming a moral compass in the story. And um, yeah, I would definitely say Tom. What about you? Like when you were reading it, who do you think was your favorite character?
I don't know if I have a favorite, but I would say I was able to empathize the most with Jake.
Hmm.
And that's probably just because he was the main character and it's easy as a reader to put yourself in Jake's shoes.
Yeah,
So I guess that's a good thing. I don't necessarily have a favorite, but it's like,
yeah,
Jake,
for
that's a
sure.
that's a good guy right there.
Yeah, he's a good stand-in for the audience for sure.
Yes. Now, one thing that stood out to me was how you blended sci-fi and horror and crime thriller, and you don't see that a lot. Can you expand a little bit more on that? Are you a fan of noir?
Yeah, I am. Like I read a lot of Max Allan Collins, and Tom's kind of like maybe inspired in a way by the Quarry series, which is just about a private investigator. But I wanted to do something kind of original with that because that's something that I run into as an author. Like I don't want to write things that have been written, and I don't want to write something that has been done a lot. Like I want to add some originality to things for sure.
Do you, when you're thinking about your stories, do you have the beginning, middle, and end all in your head already, or do you have to make an outline, or what happens?
Yeah, usually for me, it's I'll see the whole book in my head as a movie, like from start to finish. And it becomes this process of being a sculptor of sorts where you just have to spend time with it and just write down what you're seeing. Sometimes it can be really overwhelming, sometimes it can be really fun. So it's just kind of just a process of knowing when to stop, knowing when to go. And it's definitely something I envision all at once for sure.
I am envious of people who can see the whole story in their head because for me, I'm a writer too, but I'm a very different kind of writer. You know, I write reviews. I come from a journalism background. So for me, it's I have very solid bits and pieces that I know for sure I want to touch on, and I have them all down, and then I spend a lot of time connecting them.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's not, but
sure.
yeah, man, I'm envious of you that you can
Yeah.
just see the whole thing.
Your writing style, I'm sure, has like its own strengths as well that I'm envious of for sure.
Sometimes, sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's more work. But for Cedar Mills, it was definitely easy. It's like it was very easy to find things that I liked, things that made me think. The review was very easy for me to do. So you did a good job. You paired a disgraced homicide detective with grieving teens. I don't know how you did that because for me, it's like I don't. What all do they have in common? How can they, how can they work this out together? But I guess maybe it's a whole thing about, you know, how trauma bonds people.
Yeah.
And any anything else to say about that? That's just how I see it.
I think that's a really like original take on it for sure. Like I haven't thought about that. That's a really good take. I think for me it was more so like their dynamics was like a reflection on age. Like you
Yes.
Tom with the high schoolers who like sees himself in them, but he's also at this point in his life where there's kind of no going back from what he's been through. And he's also like a really good person at
Yeah.
heart. And the high schoolers who see him at first as kind of maybe disgruntled in a negative light, but they by the end of it, they're kind of their eyes are open that he's actually there's more to people than what meets the eye. So it's kind of just like I think a reflection on age and the passing of time, and I really like to play with that dynamic of kind of maybe subverting expectation of their own perceptions of each other for sure.
Yeah, I totally get that because at first, you know, they introduced Tom and I'm like, oh, it's, you know, detective caught me and I already know how this is going to be, but he definitely had points of growth and I was able to see like, okay, well, you're not what you seem, just
Yeah,
as what you said. Same with a lot of other characters too. It's like everyone had some points of growth throughout their story. And I like to see that in characters. They're not just one-sided. You know, they're
yeah,
not just a stereotypical teen, a stereotypical parent, whoever. It's like they've all got their own lives, their own secrets, their own whatevers.
for
Yeah.
sure. There's so much more to people. Like we're all so very complex, and it's always really fun to explore as an author. And I really enjoy like getting to know just people in real life, and just because there's just everybody has secrets and like really interesting things about them for sure.
Yeah, and you managed to do that in not, you know, this is a good sized book, but it's not like, you know, 1,500 page Stephen King. So that's it's crazy that you were able to build that amount of world in it's not a small book, but comparatively a small book.
It yeah, Stephen King writes some like really long work for sure.
Yeah.
Really long stuff.
I mean, it helps when you're on cocaine. So
Yeah, that's true.
I'm sure it helps. So Cedar Mills is It has a lot of different themes going on here. We have loss, we have redemption arcs, we have friendships, we have secrecy, as we talked about. Was there a particular emotion, an emotional core that you wanted readers to have or that you had yourself? Or was it just, I'm going to put all this out here and you guys feel what you feel?
Yeah, I think for me, I was always driven by like really good intentions with this novel in the sense of what I was leading with when I was writing it was just the idea of coming together, like humans coming together from all different kinds of backgrounds, different people, people that you don't think would get along, end up working together. And yeah, that's kind of what I was hoping as an author. Reason for takeaway is just like coming together, togetherness. And but then you could also like break it down from a subjective standpoint. There's a lot of other takeaways too. So it's like I'm always very like interested in hearing what people have to take away from it because it's probably true because it's subjective kind of, yeah.
Now, the town itself is almost a whole other character. There's a lot of secrets going on here. It's definitely what I would think a small town would be. Now, I don't come from a small town, so I don't, I haven't experienced that myself. Was that something that you've experienced or that you have thoughts about?
Yeah, I'd say I have a lot of family from small towns and just growing up playing sports and traveling a lot and seeing like lots of different places like that for sure. They all carry like a certain palpable energy to them. It's like very spiritual in a way of like former small industry towns, maybe just popped up in the 1800s by the railroads or by the river, and like and then the town will like morph over a period of time, do something else entirely, and its original purpose is entirely forgotten. But the ancestors of the original settlers are still there and it's still kind of continuing the town legacy. And I thought that was really interesting to explore in this novel. And that's something that's always really just fascinated me, just like the small towns of America that maybe are forgotten on the map, but they have so many interesting things going on for them.
Yeah, they have this whole background.
For
Uh,
sure.
Scene setting. Did you when you were creating the story of Cedar Mills, did you like I know you had the whole story in your head, but what about placing things? Like, okay, I know if I can visualize a map, I know the grist mill is here, the high school is here, Jake's house is here. Did you have that going on too, or did you have to like work that out?
I think I definitely had that going on. Like it wasn't even something I really had to think about. I just knew like, yeah, that's here, that's here. That's really interesting to like think about in hindsight because it was all there, but I never really stopped to think about it. I was just flowing, and it's interesting like how that works sometimes, and when everything comes together.
Yeah, you should add a map to the next one. Addition to add a like in the fantasy novels, add a map to it.
Like an Easter egg, that'd be really cool.
Or even like schematics of the underground like military
Oh,
base.
yeah,
You
like a
can
blue.
take that. You can take that idea. You can have it. And speaking of government, without spoiling anything, there's this whole government conspiracy element. How did that work out in your story? Did you always know it was going to be a government kind of thing, or what?
I think that was something that just sort of naturally manifested, where the government represented an outside force against people. And I think everybody in some capacity feels that way in life, that there's some sort of outside force that they're up against. And I think it was a manifestation of that. And also like just really cool to explore that universe, that world. And I had written the prequel to Cedar Mills before I wrote Cedar Mills, and it was set during the American Civil War,
Oh,
and it followed Agent Hive's great great grandpa and like forming the organization that is front and center in the novel. And I finished that, and I was like, this doesn't seem really accessible as like a first horror novel, like Civil War kind of
yeah.
lore. Then I was like, I'd like to explore this some more, maybe in a modern setting. And then Cedar Mills kind of came about for sure.
Now, what about the creature? How, you know? how did you come about forming them in your mind? Not so much where they came from. I want to leave that
Mm,
to the
sure.
readers, but visually, we got a lot of stuff going on here.
Yeah, I would definitely say that the Charles Mill Lake Cryptid kind of inspired the look, but then I just ran with it and sort of gave the creature its own life. And yeah, the creature definitely has a background and there's definitely a lot more going on. But for me, it was kind of I was using ambiguity. I think that's
Mhm.
the word a lot. Um, to kind of hold my punches back, to kind of let the reader sort of interpret what's going
Yeah, what I imagined in my head was frightening.
on.
Yeah. So thank you for that. Um, is this is this ancient something creature supposed to symbolize anything in particular, or is it just, it's a monster, it's a creature?
It's a little bit of both. And I think it could be dependent on the reader and where they're at and what they're taking away from it. For me, there's definitely like a deeper lore to the creature. And I would say the creature is sort of top of the food chain compared to humans. But there's
Mhm.
this whole other spectrum of interdimensional life, and the creatures are kind of maybe in the middle.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot more going on, and the organization knows about the other sort of entities, if you will.
Okay, okay. So now that we're at the end of the book, we're at the end, and you definitely left me like, I wish there were more pages. I need to it's the end of the book, but it's also not the end of the story here.
For
Do you
sure.
plan? I know you said you wrote kind of like a prequel. Are you going to go back to that, or are we going to get a sequel at some point, or is this just going to be that's it? That's the story. You make up the rest in your head.
Yeah, I think it's going to be that's it. That's the story.
Oh, okay, okay.
There, there will also be like additional novels in the future that will have tie-ins to see.
Oh,
So they can
okay.
like they can read as standalones, and but they'll also be connected to the Cedar Mills universe. And I really like that idea of just this novel is a standalone, but there's also like tie-ins to
Yeah.
Cedar Mills for sure.
Almost like little Easter eggs.
Yeah, for
That
sure.
sounds fun. Okay, I will accept that. Now we are wrapping up the end of this interview. So, for those who have not read Cedar Mills, why should we read it? Why should we support your writing?
Yeah, if you're looking for a good scare and something with some heart to it as well, I think Cedar Mills is perfect for you for sure.
And where can we find your works?
Yeah, you can find all of my work at dylanjamesauthor.com.
So, a big thank you to Dylan for joining me today to talk about all things Cedar Mills. If you love small town horror with mystery and monsters, I highly recommend getting this book. I will leave all of the information in the description. And of course, you can always visit letstalkterror.com for my full review on Cedar Mills, as well as other news, booze, and reviews. So until next time, stay spooky and watch out for what's lurking in the woods.